Welcome back to the Money Makin Mamas podcast. I'm Nancy Wallace-Lobbs, and I'm joined today by my wonderful co-host and daughter,
Kelcie Leica.
Hey, Kelcie, how you doing?
It's been a fun week.
I know what you have had literally your hands full. So why don't you just tell
Um,
everybody what you've been doing?
so my toddler moms out there will totally, or well, honestly, toddler and up parents will know, but we did potty training this week. And
Potty
it
training.
actually, okay, so actually it wasn't too bad. I think I had it's again, we talked about in the last episode. If you missed it, we talked about real estate stuff and investing and how it's always more intimidating than what it actually was. And potty training was just that. It was way more intimidating. I don't know why I had it in my head that like it'd just be super complicated and
Super messy.
super messy
You should
and
tell
like
people how you did it. Because
yeah.
he got it like in 3 days.
He did. Okay, so I don't know because I had friends that were like their boy was like 2 years old and they did it, and I was like, oh my god, am I like missing the beat? And also too, I like constantly have this like mom guilt if my kids because they're not in daycare and they're not like participating. It like they do like extracurricular activities, but they're not in daycare, so I always have this mom guilt of like, are my kids behind? And so finally, like Bear's about to be 3 in 2 weeks. And so I was like, all right, we need to do the potty
Well, by the
training.
time this airs, he will be 3.
Oh yeah, I guess so. I guess by the time he airs, yeah, this he'll be 3. And so anyways, I was like, okay, we need to just bite the bullet. So my husband and I were looking at the calendar and Zach was like, so Zach has a 13-year-old daughter. So he's potty trained her 13 years ago. I mean, I feel like when it comes down to the basics, it's like pretty easy, but he was like, well, I just did it with Candy and like she got it. And I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, but we need to be home for like 5 days. And in my head, I'm like, we're never home. Like even though we're not in daycare and preschool and all that, like we still have so much going on. Like we between social hangouts and school stuff for Allie, whatever it is, we're just not home consistently for 5 days. So I was like, how are we gonna do this? So finally, it was Saturday, and I was like, you know what, we're doing it tomorrow. So we went to Walmart. I let him pick out his own uh underwear, and he's obsessed with Minions right now. So they're like this athletic, and I think this is key. They're like an athletic brief pair. They're not cotton, which he already had some cotton underwear. And so Zach was like, okay, we'll just put him in his underwear and, I got him the whole potty basket. I made, like, I saw this thing on Pinterest of like potty train with Bear, and it was like a train and all these train tracks that went down to a star. And then he got to pick out his own stickers, all this stuff. So,
It's
anyways,
really cool. I mean, you should take a picture of that because I thought it was cool.
yeah, I thought it was actually because he's obsessed with trains.
Yes.
So it was actually really fitting. And then his basket, it was actually amazing. I found like those like water, like where they paint with water and then it like makes a picture. He did it like 10 million times. And I think that like was awesome. But anyways, we did the potty basket. He picked out his own stickers. He picked out his own underwear. I made the potty train like thing. And every time he peed, he got a sticker to put on his potty train. Anyways, first couple times in the diaper in the underwear, he did not get it, and I had read everywhere that people had just done naked, so I was like, all right, we're just gonna go naked or whatever. So sure enough, he had like one accident, and then he's like, oh, like whatever. And so I will say the most annoying part was having to ask him every 2 minutes. Bear, do you have to go potty? Bear, do you have to go poo poo? Bear, tell mama if you have to go pee pee. Like, I'm so tired of hearing that for my own. And then we had like a little timer. I don't know, probably like by the end of the first day, like he was doing pretty good. And then the second day, like by the end of it, like he had like no accidents. So there I think the hardest part that we're dealing with right now, so we're on like day 5. I will say I think he has it minus poop. We've had 2 poop accidents already. um but I think he just, which is like, this is the most I've ever said pee and poop on podcasts. So there's
Right?
but anyways, here we are, day 5. He's doing really, really good. We made it all the way to the end of the star, so then I got him like a new train set, and so I'm just waiting. I tried to do it before we recorded this podcast, but
He wasn't doing it. He wasn't going.
yeah. So when he goes next time, the potty train fairy will come.
And I will say you guys did a good job because I came over and babysat for a couple hours yesterday, and he didn't say Nana or anything. He just went right in there and did his
Mm-mm.
business. So yay! So good job, yay!
Yeah, yeah.
So any of the moms out there, you're probably going, "What does this have to do with Money Making Mamas?" Just drop a comment. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, yeah, because
I was trying to remember how I potty trained you, and all I remember is I had a little potty chair,
mm-hmm.
and you had your reading library, and I
Yeah.
actually have a picture of you on the potty chair that I think we might have showed at your wedding. I can't remember,
Yep,
but
probably. Well, and it was nice because we had like already in the house that, oh my gosh, when we bought our house, they already installed the potty train seat. So it was really convenient for that.
yeah.
Anyways, enough about
Yeah,
potty
potty
training my
train. Okay,
girls.
so I'll just say one thing that other people probably can relate to. I've been doing dishes by hand for a week.
Mm,
My dishwasher
that's
went
rough.
out. It was rough. And I only get a home warranty when I buy a house. And I just don't get them. They're just not worth the money. But
Yeah.
anyway, long story short, I called somebody out because the dishwasher is only like 4 years old, and they said it was a drain pump. So my husband's very handy. He changed it out. Yeah, it wasn't the drain pump. So yeah, we're getting a new dishwasher.
Wow.
Yay! So
Two different
exciting.
lives.
Two different lives, right? So, well, today usually I say, Kelcie, what do we talk about? But we actually have a treat. Like people are probably going, what are these two gals talking about, right? So today we're going to talk about the evolution of how Money Making Mamas came about with a mother daughter duo who are both very strong willed. We're both stubborn.
The apple
And
doesn't fall far from the
yeah.
tree.
So we're going to kind of talk about, I guess it's more of our story or whatever, but how we got to where we're at because
Hmm.
it wasn't always smooth sailing. And
And how our relationship has shifted.
yeah, shifted,
Hmm.
and I think in the beginning we talked, when we're like, well, how are we going to do this? And we used ChatGPT and I was like, I don't like any of those questions because one of the questions was like, if you were a talent show, what would you be in the talent show? Well, you know what? I would just be the person with the bullhorn telling everybody where to go. So we're going to kind of talk about like, maybe take it from when you were a kid, that
Hmm.
relationship is like, strictly mother, mom being the mom and you being the
Hmm.
kid.
Hmm.
Then, I think we'll skip through the teen years. They were, you were a good kid, so there wasn't really anything. And
Hmm.
I think our communication, when we started
Well,
having problems, was
I think
when,
we should hold on. I think we should pause there because, like, I think that we did like so when we talk about mother daughter relationships. I think we had the typical one.
yeah, I think we
Like,
had a good
like
relationship.
yes, it was a good relationship, but I feel like we did fight a lot about miscellaneous things.
Yeah.
You know.
We didn't, okay, from a mom's perspective, I don't think we fought as much as like when I was growing up with my
Mm.
mom, right?
Mhm.
Because, you were a good kid, you did
Mhm.
good in school, you were in sports, you made good choices.
Mm.
So I feel like, from the toddler all the way up till like, and I want to say college
Yeah.
is where I feel like our disagreements really start because that was
Yeah.
when you didn't live at home anymore. um you were kind of living your own life, so I had a hard time letting go, and I think
Yeah.
moms can relate to that.
That's interesting though that you bring because like for me, not saying I'm not sitting here saying that we fought a lot, but you have a comparison to your childhood. So now I'm curious, like with Toby, you joke with me all the time because she's so strong
Yes,
willed and like let's not manifest that for me, but it'll be interesting in 20 years
what you'll say about, yeah,
how many times we fought, how many times me and Toby fought versus you and I,
yeah,
and
because I
what
think
that looked
it
like.
has an impact on how you mother, like how you were mothered, right?
Yeah,
So
it does.
I think you're probably going to be like some of the things that I see you doing that you were probably didn't think you would ever do is like you're probably not as strict as I was. Um, but I think you're more creative with your kids than I was.
Mm.
Yeah. So anyway, then when you got to college, maybe some choices where I didn't agree with the choices.
Which is
Uh,
crazy because let's just okay. Like I feel like the choices that I made were not and like we're not about to air out all of our dirty laundry, but like the choices I made were so like on a small scale compared to like normal choices of someone going off to college.
that's true.
Like I didn't go out, like I didn't go to any parties. I went to Texas State for a year and a half, and Texas State is like known as the party college, but that's not like I
That's not
have
what you did.
that's not what I
Uh
did.
huh.
And so it's just funny because you're saying it like I had
And you
a
didn't. You
wild
didn't. So.
time, but you know,
But I think our biggest conflict got was when you became an adult, a young woman, like in your early 20s. That's when I remember the conflicts really. escalating. You know what I mean? Like when you were a kid, it's like, the mother, do this, I don't want to do this. And I can only remember one time that, you were about 12 and you wanted to go somewhere. And I was like, no, you're not going to go there or whatever. And I think I put you in timeout and you were like, I'm going to leave. And I was like, pack your bag. And so, but I mean, you didn't really, I mean, I think I have a pretty good memory, but I remember, like, probably I would say from even after you got married, we had some pretty
Oh my
good
god.
bloods.
Well, okay, that's a whole thing.
That's a whole
Okay, so
thing.
I feel like we're skipping so much.
I know, but we don't want to bore the audience because they want to. I mean, what we
Okay,
want to
well,
make
you know
sure,
what? Let's talk. Okay, so
because I
yes,
think it's more adult moms now.
yeah.
Like, how do adult moms get into business partnerships?
Okay, well, the first step is communication. And so we'll just talk about our first. So in the college years, so I went to Texas State for a year and a half and I moved back home to go to UT Dallas and then I moved out. And to go well, and I say moved out like, normal, like I stayed home for like a semester and then I got my own apartment or maybe a year. Maybe a year I stayed home
It was
or
a
whatever.
condo that we bought, right? So that you could rent it.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyways, I moved out still, but I was renting it from you.
Yes,
You were my landlord
at a discount, but
at a
okay.
discount. Anyways.
Which I did as a tax advantage because here's a tip. If you have I know we were going to talk about real estate, but this is how real estate comes into my life. So, living in a dorm, very expensive, right? No matter
Mhm.
where you're
Well,
at.
and a single apartment.
Yeah, it were crazy. So we ended up buying a condominium, which I'm not a big fan of condos, but this was like if you have a kid in college and you buy a condominium, because we just had a 1 bedroom, but you could get roommates and pay for it and whatnot. So
It was a 2 bedroom.
oh yeah, that's right. It was a 2 bedroom. So, but you didn't have a roommate.
Mhm.
But the thing is that I got the tax deduction,
Mhm.
right? And it
Mhm.
was more affordable than paying for a dorm room.
Yes,
So,
it was.
okay. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's my little.
Anyways, so I don't remember what sent us to this, but I think this was right before I studied abroad. Anyways, I don't people can ask us about like, I feel like we're a pretty open book off the mics. You can ask us what the fights were about, but honestly, I can't really remember them. I just remember parts and whatever. So anyway, somehow we ended up in a therapist office.
Yes. And Delane, if you ever listen to this, thank you very much. But it was hilarious because
So, okay, well, back to your thing. So communication is the
yes,
first thing that we like. I think we're still like that's evolving, but it's got 10 times more better than what it
yes.
used to be. But going into business, communication was one of the first things that we had to figure out. And I think that this therapist session was one of the biggest things. And it's not what you think. It's not because like, oh, we sat down in therapy, she gave us some tools, we took it home. Yeah, no, that is not what happened. So,
We started talking because we were like, oh my gosh, can you believe that we're actually doing this? So, do you want to tell what we had to do?
okay, well, hold on.
Okay.
So I think from my memory, because this was like like 10 plus years ago,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, because so it was like 10 years ago, a little bit more. Anyways, but I'm pretty sure we went to like one or two sessions and like we would just talk over each other. We would yell at each other. I would be like all mopey, like "Bleh, bleh, bleh," and mom would be railing into me, like awful communication. Anyways, second or third session that we go into, she makes us sit on the floor with some like back to back,
Back to back,
and each gave us a
like
thing of
Tinker
blocks.
Toys or yeah, bum blocks.
And so I built something, or I don't know who started. Either you started or I
Yeah, but
started.
you had to tell the other person
No, I
what.
know. And so I built something, and then I had to tell you how to like build it without looking or whatever. And I just
We failed. We
we
flunked.
failed. And then the other thing that she told us was, the I hear you. This
I,
is what you said, right? Is it
yeah,
she
you
told
kind of regurgitate what somebody else said, but really, I think the biggest thing that I remember was the timers.
Yeah, you tell that.
Okay, so she said that we should get so like when you're and okay, so this is a tip for anybody who has conflict in their lives, as so Kelsey and I can be a little volatile at each other every now and then. And so we have a tendency to yell and,
Mhm.
and not let the other person talk. So
Mhm.
she said, we'll get a timer. So we got these, I got pink timers that have pink sand in them and they're 2 minute timers. And so she had one at her house, I had one at my house. So when we were on the phone, like, okay, do you have your timer?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I
then
do. Yeah.
so we had to turn them over, and maybe they were only a minute, but whatever it was, when the
Hmm.
timer was up,
And
you
it
were
was like
done.
the
Like,
little sand ones.
yeah, the sand where you turn them over. So, and I can't say that that really helped.
I think we took it more as a joke than anything.
So we bust out. So I guess, yeah. So we'd be yelling. Then it's like, well, your timer's up. Turn it over, whatnot.
Yeah,
So,
but I do distinctly remember us, and I do think these are good tools. I'm not like dogging on them. I thought the block thing was just pretty funny because
mhm.
obviously we were not communicating, and also that's really hard. You should just try it on it like your
Just
next
for a
one.
fun night, date night thing with your husband. So,
Yeah, but I think for me, like I think it was funny because especially I remember and maybe this was the point of it, or like there was two folds to it, but whenever we would fight and have to say okay, this is what you said and repeat it back, and this is what I'm hearing. And like, I think that made us internally pause and like slow down and like cool down a little
yes,
bit. So they probably, she probably knew what she was doing, giving us
yeah.
those tools, but like, we probably didn't
We were
use
just
them
being
the right way.
stubborn. I think we were being, and so then also I had to go through. So yes, our relationship went through an evolution, but I know personally I had to go through a shift because I had to look at you as a
Mhm.
woman making your own choices and being okay with it, even if I didn't
Mhm.
agree with it,
Mhm.
and still being supportive. And I
Yeah.
think so. Couple things. So, moms, we have to let go a little bit,
Mhm.
right? And two, um, to really have a good relationship, whether it's in business or personal, you have to be able to hear the other person,
Yeah.
and but the other person has to hear you, and you have to feel heard.
Yeah.
You have to feel heard. So, which I'm tapping on my Nana shirt here. I don't know if everybody knows I have a Nana on, and Kelcie actually does embroidery. That's her
Yeah.
kind of hobby when she needs to
Mhm.
de-stress. But anyway,
Mhm.
it's because she's got her mama shirt on.
Yeah, I do. So I think that was one of the first times that I don't think it like corrected our communication skills, but it definitely like shifted them for sure because I think that we really did learn how to like even though I don't think that we 100% practiced it right away, I
We
think that
didn't.
we like in the back of our minds, I think it helps us now like okay, this is what you're saying, whatever. Um So then, yeah, I think going forward, because this is like, okay, so
Well,
we had that.
I'm going to add something to
Yeah,
it. I just
yeah.
kind of thought of it that I know played a role for me, and it had to do with money. So, people that, there's emotions around money.
Mm-hmm.
So, depending on how, so I was raised where it was like, okay, money was like, okay, we had it one day we didn't. When
Mm-hmm.
it was always back and forth, but we also never talked about it. So, you did a really good job as you were growing up. I mean, when you worked, we made you save half of your money, and,
Yeah.
you're a very good saver today. But I think when we bought the condo and you did pay rent, I mean, it was under market, but but I felt like I still had a hold, right? And we were
Mm-hmm.
still paying for part of your college. So I think
Yeah.
for me, I felt entitled
Yeah.
to have more control,
Mm.
as a mom. Like, well, hey, I'm paying for this or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had to recognize that if I was going to make that choice,
Yeah.
that I couldn't let that be a factor in how we're communicating, because that was more about what I was feeling about money, not you.
Mm. Yeah. I think that's a really good key for like just in general in life. Like, just if you are making the decision to like provide money, because I can see that. Um, But if you're making the choice to have like you also have like you can't just automatically have this like entitlement and it's good that you say that because that's a good tip for me later on in life with my own kid.
Right. To no.
Cuz I feel like I felt the the negative side of that of like you know what I mean
Mhm.
as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, so I think that with that therapy session was kind of the first time and a couple years passed by, met Zach. And like obviously we had fights, but I'm thinking of like significant moments and I think another one like a huge shift through our relationship was getting married
Yes.
and having Bear.
Yes.
Because I think, and I'll probably feel the exact same way about Toby, but I think there was a lot of hardship at the very beginning of wedding planning because like, one, I'm your only kid. let alone your only daughter. And so you even admitted you like one of the fights that we had. Like I am very much a mountain person. Like me and Zach had always talked about
Oh
going to
yeah,
the
I wanted you to
mountains.
get married at the beach, and and well, and it was the church thing too. I mean, we just differed on a lot of different
Mhm.
things. So
Yeah, we differed on a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, like, and I think maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, you guys did help pay for the wedding, and so that was like like, well, I'm chipping in, so like I have this huge say, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, it's your kid's wedding, and
mhm.
so all that. So that was something we really had to like listen to each other. Like I had to, vocalize more that I appreciated your guys' contribution, but at the same time, like you like this was my, hopefully one and only wedding. And so if I'm gonna choose, and then it sucked because like at the end of the day, like not okay, Zach, if you're listening, I loved our wedding, but at the end of the day, we didn't really even get the wedding we wanted because we got married in the middle of COVID. So
Well, I mean, it was a nice
no,
wedding.
no, it was a nice wedding. I'm not dogging it,
Yeah.
but it just
Oh, because you were actually we were gonna go to the mountains and everything,
yeah,
and the hotel canceled and blah blah. Yeah, it was a whole
it
thing,
was a whole
but I
ordeal.
mean, you still had a nice
No,
wedding. So.
we really did. For what we
You
were
didn't have the
what
location that you wanted.
yeah, we didn't have the location that we wanted, but I mean, it still was a really, really nice wedding. And like, I'm really happy with the place that we chose.
Yes.
So it was really good. But it's just funny that looking back, I just like had that epiphany of like, we fought so much about where to get married, but at the end of the day, like, to even
It didn't matter because there was COVID. So, which was kind of when you think about like life lessons
mm-hmm.
and having to shift, that was a big one for not just us, but for a lot of people. So,
Yeah.
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 But then I think, so then we had another shift after you got married because now you really are, like this woman but you're
Mm-hmm.
still my child. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then becoming a mom of yourself. And so we did, I think our fights probably weren't as intense after you had your child, after you had Bear.
Mm-hmm.
But what we fought about were pretty fundamental mom things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think it had to do with me, how I was a mom and how you want to be a
Mm-hmm.
mom. And, you wanted to feel respected. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I was not respecting you as like I should. So that was a learning curve for both of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think respect was hard. Like, I think if we talk about the shifts in our relationship and communication and respect is like the two biggest things because I can like automatically think of just how like both of those have completely shifted over our relationship. So like for you, I don't know, do you want to talk more about what it was like for you? Like cuz yeah, we obviously fought a lot during the wedding process, but I mean it was like really good wedding, like we were all
Yes.
good about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that was over, I mean there was a little tiffs here and there, but once that was over, like that was good and then like now, I mean, I'm sure that wasn't like too much of a change because like me and Zach, like we are all so we hung out so much, so it wasn't that much of a change.
Yeah, but I think the respect evolved over time, and you respected me not, like you've always loved me, right? And I always felt that, and I feel like that.
Hold on, pause. We're talking about you respecting me.
I know I'm getting to that.
Oh, but you just said respect me.
I know I'm talking about the respect, how I had to earn your respect, and then on same token of that.
Well, no, but I was gonna talk about how I.
But I was getting to the evolving part about, when I was a mom, and then I had to respect when you became more of an
Oh,
adult and
okay.
things
I'm
like
sorry. I
that.
didn't mean to cut you off. Dang, I had such a good. Well, okay. I'm sorry. That was my fault.
Okay,
Communication. I heard what you said. Sorry, I didn't know if you accidentally tripped your words.
I did not.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll keep that, all right. Okay, I don't even know. You said, I don't know where we're
Okay,
at.
well, I have to start over now, which I can't remember where we even. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I think communication and respect have been the two things that have just really evolved over a relationship, and like at this point, like yeah, the wedding. I think we had to like come. There was a lot of fights in the preparations over like miscellaneous things,
Well, you
right?
had a bunch of other people involved in it
Well,
too,
anyone who has had a wedding is not an easy thing. And it's so funny because like me and Zach had said we wanted a short engagement. Like we got engaged January 1st and we got married in November. So like that was good because we already had the house, like we had Allie like in the picture and all this stuff. And But it doesn't matter if you do a short or a long engagement because it's all just stressful. Planning a wedding is not fun.
And then you get COVID. So,
Yeah.
but I think, for us and where we're at today had to do with, me learning how to respect you,
Mm.
you know. Um, I mean, I've always been your mom, always
Mhm.
loved you. But for me, it was hard. I didn't know this. I mean, we're talking about retrospect now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't know what you don't know
Right.
when you're in the moment. You just know
Mhm.
that your child is pulling away,
Yeah.
and it's hurtful,
Yeah.
And then and we love Zach and we love Allie,
Mhm.
but your life was not evolving around me anymore,
Right. Yeah.
and you didn't need me like you
Yeah.
used to need me, and so
Mhm.
I think it was, I think that was hard for me.
Mhm.
Um, that was hard for me. So,
Mhm.
anyway, I think I had to learn how to respect you, and
Mhm.
which was kind of foreign. Like that's not something that you're taught.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
moms, I don't remember seeing the manual. Okay, when your daughter's 18, you need to respect her. Or when she gets married,
Yeah.
or I had to come to that point in my life where I was like, okay, I should be proud of the woman that you've become.
Mhm.
And so then I had to start focusing on that, which I am.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
think you were.
mhm.
Like, but I think that the mask of like, oh, okay, my daughter's now moving on, like that masked it.
Yes, I think so. And I think women do feel that way.
Mhm.
It's like we give so much to our families, and then all of a sudden one day, now I'm older, and
Yeah.
I think there's probably not enough. We always say, "Oh, we're an empty nester" or whatever, but really the empty nest is a feeling.
Mhm.
Because especially, if you have children
Yeah.
and now those children, they have, you still talk to them and you still have a good relationship, but they're just not in your lives like they were,
Right.
and so you have to kind of find something to fill. And then I think the other thing, on the same token, is what I always worked when
Yeah.
you were growing up. And I had some very, I was management, I had
Mhm.
management type of jobs. And so sometimes it was hard for me to come home and, shift from like, oh, I was the boss all day. Now I'm still the boss,
Yeah.
so I think that was hard. And I don't think that you really respected that part of my
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
until you became a manager.
Yeah. 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 Which, yeah, I definitely think that because when I became a manager, like all of a sudden it was like, okay, I need, because you can't go to your own boss and be like, hey, how do I manage? You know what I mean? Like, you have to. One, it was a sales manager position, so I had to sell them that I could be a good manager without any manager. And then it sucked because I did get hired as a manager in COVID. And, I had been in the office prior to this 5 days a week. And then COVID happened. I was in my position and I got promoted to manager. And just because, like, and I'm sure this was a way for a lot of the companies, but I didn't have any training of like, there wasn't like a
Like how to manage.
handbook of how to manage, and I knew I could do the job. Like, obviously, and like I wanted to do it, but it's also like, what are the best practices for management, things like that, whatever. Anyways, this was not the path that I thought I was going to go on too. So it's not like I went to school to be a man like in management. So yeah, I think for me and like again, like you said, there's no handbook of like, I mean, okay, technically if you're going to get like technical, there's like the 10 commandments. But if you're not religious, let's like respect elders. you know. But, I think a lot of
Or the
people.
golden rule.
Yeah, but I think like a like true respect.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you can sit there
Because,
and
well,
like,
you have to earn it.
well, yeah, and so I think for me, like, yes, you're told to respect your parents and you're told to respect your elders, but you don't really know what that means as a kid. Like, and so for me, calling you up and being like, hey, I have a employee that's doing this, this, and that. Like, how do I handle it? And like actually going to you for something outside of like doctor's appointments or hey, I need help like finding a hat, like whatever it is, a couch for my apartment. So it was actually going to you for that part of my life of how do I be a manager and like that business side that really grew the respect for me for you. Even though obviously I respect you as my parent, but like my true respect,
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think for you too, like I think having Bear and having the kids, that was a huge growth area for both of us of
Hmm.
like me having to recognize and appreciate that yes, you raised me, but then and like you did it, you've raised a kid, like, you know this, but then it's also like, mom, okay, I need you to listen to me. This is how I want to raise my kid. And so I think that's been like a huge like growth factor in just having the kids and the grandkids
Right.
of growing our respect for each other as well.
And and we did, kind of differ about that. Not because I didn't think you knew what you were doing, but I just had some ideas and you had some ideas,
Mhm.
and mine didn't always, maybe respect yours or whatnot. So I
Mhm.
think, but through communication,
Yeah.
and also when the grandbabies came around,
Mhm.
when you had your kids and everything, the fights that we used to have now seem small, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
also, I also recognize that, as a new mom, you're going to be tired.
Yeah.
And so I hope I did anyway. I feel like maybe I, tried to come in as more of a support
Mhm. You did.
most of the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
A couple times I might have said, well, maybe you should say that.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's like grown a lot too, because I think that I don't know. I know we probably sound like a broken record talking about this respect thing, but it just truly is like what evolved us to now. Because like now, I think that we said this. I think like the first episode or maybe the second episode, but like look at us now, a year and some change into working together, and like I never thought we would make it this far.
Yeah. And not
And
Mike, I think I've said this, my goal was always, I hope that we would always be able to, but I just never thought we would,
mhm.
because we had different ideas about what it meant to be in business
Well, and
too.
when we fought.
Yeah. Because we're 100% committed.
Well, and I think a lot of like it hurts us and it's like good, but we do have like a lot of the similar traits, like, and I think that yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
think
do. We're more similar than we are dissimilar, I think,
mhm.
so, but we both love hard, we play hard, we work
I think
hard,
we're just
and
very passionate
yes,
and we're both controlling, we're both stubborn.
yes,
So
yeah,
sometimes, but that's also good because we're also like determined.
yes, and
And
ambitious.
and I think also too we're not going to let I think we so again, this goes back to the respect thing, but we're not going to let each other fail. And
Yes.
that's been the biggest thing of like that's like I'm not going to like I don't want to let you down at the end of the day or like I don't want to pull my weight at the end of the day like to make us fail.
Well, and I think we've also done a good job of recognizing each other's strengths,
Mhm.
so you're much better at the social media
Mhm.
than I am, but we're both creative. I like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm more organized.
Yeah.
So I think that the our skill set together has been a nice compliment for being business partners.
Yeah. So I think we should talk about like us being okay, so at this point, I think past I obviously we have skipped over so much part of our lives, but I think at this point we had, all from the building blocks back to back and I heard what you said this and blah blah blah
And the timer and your timer's up.
and then learning the respect and then also to so going into this like when we might have talked about this in like the second episode, I don't know. But when we decided to do Ignite the Wealth, which
Yes.
was our first business venture, which is essentially kind of what we're doing now, but Ignite the Wealth, I was very hesitant to go into it because I was like, well, I don't want to fight my mom a lot because at this point I feel like we were good, but I don't think we were as great as we are now.
Hmm.
And like again, this was only like a year and a half ago.
Right.
And so
Well, and I want to just kind of back up a little bit too, because when you said you wanted to do it, I had my reservations, because I was like, I don't know, how dedicated are you going to be?
mhm,
Is this something that you're really, really, because I have been an entrepreneur for a long time, so I
right.
know what it takes. And
And I
quite
was not.
frankly, yeah, and I was like, I don't. It's not that you couldn't do it. I just didn't know if you knew what you were really getting into.
Yeah, and I think that I did not have the mentality. But I think I do want to touch on that point in a second. But um yeah, so starting Ignite the Wealth, both of us were had our hesitancies, but we gave it a go like okay, let's do this. I'm not gonna lie, when we first started, I was very confused on what we were doing, like with
It
the
was
affiliate
confused.
marketing. Like we were all over the place.
But we did have clients, so
But we
we
did,
we
yeah.
got clients, and
Yeah.
so we were successful
Yeah.
in doing that. It's just that we weren't passionate about what we were doing.
Well, yeah, because we were doing the social media. So we had the affiliate marketing and then we also had the social media side of it too, which was really good. And I think the social media, like I had already had like my hand in social media, but actually taking on clients and doing that for other businesses outside of you and like us, that helped me a lot now. So I learned a lot. So it was really good.
Because you
But
learned what you
also,
wanted to do and what you
yes.
didn't want to do, and you learned to say no.
So that was a big thing. So at this point, I feel like we started Ignite the Wealth. It was going good. Um, but I feel like we did fight, and I felt like we fought about time because we
Yeah.
weren't on the same page.
And I think too that we fought because I didn't really believe in that part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's not my wheelhouse or
Right.
whatever. And so I didn't. It felt awkward. I
It
think it
did.
did. It felt awkward.
Well, and also too for me, I felt like I was putting in like a lot of because I was having to do a lot of like the back end stuff.
Right.
And you were like organizing it, which we joke about the Chris and Kim thing. Like you truly were my Chris Jenner, and I was Kim, like just the behind the scenes
I'm a good momager. Momager is that what it is?
momager,
A
yeah.
momager.
And so it was good, but I also feel like this was one of the first times. So we would fight because I would be extremely stressed out for my time. Like my time was going towards the kids
Right.
and social media stuff. And then whereas yours was going towards affiliate marketing and like and you've always been really good about like creative ways in the sense of how do we do this next? How can we, drudge up more business,
Well,
whatever it is.
let's talk about this a little bit because it really was, I think, for you learning about clients. And
Yeah.
if you're gonna serve people, that's all good, but make
Yeah.
sure that you're serving them in a way that doesn't disservice you.
Right. And so that's where I think one of our first, like, we necessarily didn't have trouble with each other, but like Ignite the Wealth, like, for me, not having that entrepreneur background, like, I really learned about time management. And then, yes, what I didn't want to do, like, I didn't want to do the social because it was like taking so much of my
Yeah,
time away. And, like, yes, it was really good. And it was taking so much time because we had clients, like,
yeah, it
a
was.
lot.
Well, and I think what people, if they're not in that, that's like a full time job, just being a social media manager,
Right.
right? And you really have to be patient about it. But I think what we learn, and me too, is that sometimes we didn't know what we didn't know, and sometimes clients have unrealistic
Yeah.
expectations, and at the end of the day, you want to do a good job for your clients,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so if you feel like you're not serving them, um, in the best way in terms of like meeting their, like, we had a couple people that wanted to, they had a huge expectation, like they wanted like tens of thousands of followers, like, great, who doesn't,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so we had to say no, we can't do that, and that's an unrealistic expectation. So
Mhm.
um but yes, but I think you and I had to work through that part of the
Yeah.
business because I was already used to saying no, and that was
And
something
I
that,
wasn't.
yes.
And also too, you mentioned it, but your heart, you felt awkward.
Mhm.
I felt strained. So at this point, like I feel like neither one of our hearts were 100% into it.
Yes.
And so that was a big difference. And that's why I feel like we fought a lot in the beginning because we both like were just, it was like you and I were, because it was nice to have you as like my momager of like the contracts and that whole side. And then, I would just do like the creative side of doing graphics and Canva and whatever it was. Um, so it was nice to have that balance. But then I think we fought a lot and not a lot, but we fought because both of us were not on the same page and like not
Mhm.
feeling it. So then cut to we're like, okay, we need to have like a like we need to shift.
We had to really just say, well, come to Jesus, because it wasn't working for either one of us,
Yeah.
and it was unsustainable the way we had it set up.
Mhm.
And I think that when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be passionate about what you do,
Yeah.
because otherwise it's gonna feel like a job, and that's,
Yeah.
you could always go get a job somewhere, but if you want to work for yourself, that's different.
Yeah. Mhm. And then I think so whenever we shifted to Money Making Mamas, and I do think that was like obviously a really like because I think we've gone so much further than what
Oh
we
yeah, and
did with
people love
Ignite.
it.
Yes, I know. We would tell people Money Making Mamas, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's so
I
good."
know, and we've gotten speaking gigs from it. We've got clients from it, and we said we're going to do a podcast.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I
And here we
mean?
are, eighth episode
Yeah,
just
yay.
now. No, but what I was gonna say is obviously the shift with us both being like in it and believing in what we're like, I think that's been amazing for us. But then also two things is the fights that we were having, like I've noticed this about us over the past couple months, which I think is great, but we really recognized like internally, because again, we're the same people. Before we called each other up, there'd be two things. One, because like our bond, like we're really close and we'll talk like a good 3 times a day minimum. And so I think each one of us had to recognize not to be stressed out when we called that or in a bad mood. It's
Or
like,
at
well,
least
we're,
acknowledge, like, hey, I need for you to be my mom, or I need to rant. That's what you'll say now. I
yeah,
need to rant.
yeah, I need my mom. Like, I need my mommy, not my business partner. That's what I'd say. And we joke about that. And like, I think also too, just like recognizing like if you called me, like I would feel not obligated to pick up the phone, but I do feel like, I want to pick up the phone, but if I'm in a bad mood because like the kids or whatever, like I have to like say I have to have that boundary of being like, hey, I can't talk right now because I'm in a bad mood. And same thing with you. And I think that's something that both of us have done a really good job over the last couple of months because I've noticed less fighting because of that.
Well, and I think too that, being an older mom,
Mhm.
and being the nana now, and I'm just at a point in my life where things are more laid back. I don't
Yeah.
get, which is nice. I mean, if there's anything about getting older, it's just that, things don't bother you like they used to. Like
Right.
and then you've been through, okay, SHAIT, can I say that?
Mhm.
You've been through it, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, I've had a lot of stuff happen in my life that, I'm not the same person when I was 30.
Right.
I mean, I'm the same person, but my outlook on life is better. It's
Yeah.
more chill.
Mhm.
And I enjoy each day that I have
Yeah.
now. So I think, I'm just thrilled. I mean, I'm in a good place. So, but I think, you're in a different place because you have the different, I don't have as many stresses in my life right now.
Yeah.
Um, I can't really think of that many stresses I have. I mean, I need to
Your
lose
dishwasher.
I need my dishwasher. I need to lose a couple pounds. What's the latest wrinkle cream? That kind of, so mine are more, just day to day stuff.
But it's funny you bring that up because that was the second thing I was gonna bring up is our come to Jesus meeting. Is we had to have a talk, like not a talk, like we had to have a talk,
We had to have a talk.
but
See you in my office.
yeah, but it was more of like recognizing each other's places. Like I had to come to you and vocalize like I don't have the same amount of time as you. And like coming to you and like cuz you obviously like yes, when you have the kids like your time is like dedicated to them watching them for me, but like I have them like
All the
but
time.
all the time, majority of the days, and my time is not the same as your time, and I think that the expectations like when we first started, your expectations was I was supposed to match you. And like I think when I vocalized, hey, my day looks a lot different and like there's actually a lot like I'm not just home with them and have the opportunity to jump on my phone or jump on my laptop because if I do that, both of them are running over and like slamming the laptop
Yeah, we had to
shut
get
or
into a routine.
we had to get into a
We had to get
routine.
through a routine of our, and we had to communicate,
Yeah.
so that goes back to like, so yeah, I think that we're in a much better place, but it was a journey.
Yeah.
It was a evolution.
I think so
But I
too.
think as women, this is the cool thing I think about women, about I love being a woman, is that, we have the capacity to like, we can be emotional,
Mhm.
but we can be strong willed. We can be logical,
Mhm.
and we can change, and we can say, you know what, that's not working, or you know what, I'm sorry, or you know what I mean, that we
Right.
have that. I think it's easier for women and it's easy to well, it's not easy to recognize
Yeah.
your downfalls, but it's nice to have your daughter that says, hey, that you'll still accept me. Okay, sorry, I yelled at you again.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things that comes back in my mind as we're doing this episode is like when I tried to teach you how to drive and took you out in a parking lot. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I remember just you ran a stop sign or something. It wasn't, it was like in the parking lot.
It was in front of Fuzzies.
Yeah, and I just let out, like, I just yelled at you, and I remember and I felt, I was like, "Oh my gosh," so I got you out of the chair, I drove home, and I felt exhausted, but I came home, I told Brian, I go, "You know what? We're paying for her to go to driving school because I cannot do it." Because I just about had a meltdown, or I did have a meltdown. I go, "I'm yelling and screaming at her. She's gonna have, PTSD from her mom teaching." So I was trying to be a control freak about, oh, I'm so excited
And
to
plus that's scary because you're behind the wheel.
yeah. So
And
anyway, we got you driving lessons, and then you were fine. And I think, did take a few years for me to feel super comfortable behind
That's what you do.
right, yeah. But I think, I think parents can relate to that trying to teach your
Oh
kid.
yeah.
I do not have the so I always pray for patience.
Yeah.
Like if I would say like God shorted me something, it would be patience. And so I did not have patience for that at all.
Mhm.
But I could have kept on trying it, but I didn't. I came home, I recognized that I was a raving lunatic,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And said, "Okay, well,
Yeah.
maybe I should just get my daughter driving lessons." And then it
Yeah.
was fine and
Yeah.
you enjoyed it much more and
Yeah. It was a little hard because it was like a 3 week and but you're right. Like I learned way more from it and it was good. Like I think overall it was a really good decision because yeah, you're right. I probably would have had like PTSD if like yeah. And I think it would annoy me like when cuz I didn't
it
like
would have gotten on your confidence because you'd be nervous like is she going to yell at me or whatever. So I think, as
yeah.
parents we have to recognize are we harming our children or are we, like this decision that I made is going to benefit her,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
get her into driving school.
Mhm.
Oh. Is the phone doing it?
I mean, it's still recording on here.
Okay. You're just turning on. Oh, it's dead. Okay, so but can't you upload that to Canva and then it'll make it into a YouTube video?
Maybe, but I don't know. We'll see. Okay, hold on. We'll just do. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Um, no, but oh wait, hold on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, I think also for me, like you doing that, like that thing, like not yes, it would I think eventually like confidence, but you're already not confident driving as a new driver. And like it just like hits a little bit. So it would, but then it would make me mad at you because it's like, Mom, stop. Like, so I think overall, yes, it was a
It
good
was a good
decision.
decision to do
It
that.
was a good
So, yeah,
decision. It was a
so
good decision on your
but I think
part.
we've done it. I think this was a good decision to have Money Making Mamas. I know people love it that we're together, and in a couple weeks we're going to be making a presentation together about. So I think one thing, if moms are out there, because I think one of the questions we get asked is, well, how does that work? Mother daughter, because
Mhm.
you hear so much about mother daughter conflict or whatnot, and um, so I guess what we're seeing is, yeah, we still have conflict,
Yeah,
but I think we work through them a lot faster than we used to,
I agree.
and we recognize when it's happening. We're able to most of the time, I'll say like 85% of the time, we're able to recognize when it's happening. We're like, oh wait.
So do you think it's funny though that we can joke about each other in the sense of like, okay, so whenever we're trying to figure out all the mic stuff and you're asking me like 20 million questions, I just give you
If
like
you were telling everybody how your head was blown up or whatever.
but it's funny because like I give you a hard time for that, for like asking
You
questions,
do
right?
all the time, yes.
But then I don't know, in a weird way, like you accept it, like Kelsey's gonna get annoyed about this, but then vice versa. I'm kind of like snarky towards you sometimes, like I don't give you the best. I like to tease you.
Yeah.
I like to tease you. And but I think you've gotten better about maybe not like gotten thicker skins with each
So you're saying
other.
I don't get his butt hurt? Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
you don't get as butt hurt, but I don't get even though I get annoyed with your 20 million questions, I don't get as annoyed
But I think,
easily.
you know what, if you were to ask, I don't know, 100 people that I know, they'd probably say the most annoying thing about me is I ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But then I say, you know what? That's how I find out stuff.
I will say you do
I do
find
find
out
out
all the
stuff, but
stuff.
I've over the years, I have had people tell me that was an annoying habit I have is
But
they
it's funny because now one of my communication one of my communication things is I when I'm telling you a story, I say let me finish before you ask. So that's how our communication has evolved.
I have to wait. I have to wait. And sometimes I have to think about, okay, I need to wait. Don't ask that. I need to wait. So, yes, I ask a lot of questions. I admit
It's
it.
okay.
You
It's
know,
okay. You know, I do say it annoys me, but
Okay,
At the
I
same
want to tell
time,
this story. I
it
don't know if
doesn't
she'll.
annoy
A,
me as
a,
much as
a,
I
a
say.
long time ago, I went out to California with some friends, and I grew up in the Midwest.
Yeah,
Okay, I don't know about California or whatever,
yeah.
and so we were over by Loyola University, and so I guess if you go drive by there, if it didn't burn down, there's a like a mountain or a hill, and it has an L on it.
Okay.
And so we were driving in the car, and maybe I asked a bunch of different questions about what we were seeing. And I just said, "What does the L stand for?" And the girl that was in the car, she was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you just asked one more question, blah, 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 blah." Okay, how am I supposed to know what that is?
Yeah.
If there's, and I didn't see the university or anything like
Hmm.
that. So that always stuck in my mind because I think that was the first time and that was probably like, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago that happened, that trip. I was like, huh. And I just keep asking questions.
I was just about to say, good for you, Mom, for not changing for other people.
Yeah, because I was like, well, how am I supposed to know that? You know
That's
what I mean? And there was not like looking up in your phone, like, you know how you can do Google
yeah,
Maps and, oh, okay, it's Loyola, if I'm even saying it correctly.
yeah,
I couldn't do that.
yeah.
So I think I would have benefited greatly if I'd had the internet at back in the day when I was always asked, because I love going to Google and go, what if Baba? What? And I
I
like
know
to,
you do.
and then I'll say, oh, well, did you know about this? Or I read books. I like to
You
read.
read books.
I like to read books.
I will say, Mom, yes, I give you a hard time about it and it annoys me sometimes, but you do know a lot of information and it's very beneficial.
But the only thing I'm really like an expert at is real estate investing. So I know a lot. What is that?
That's
You're
very true.
so anyway, I raised you, didn't I? So
But it's funny because Zach gives me a hard time now because there there will be moments where he'll be like, "Let me finish before you ask a question." Or if I don't ask a question, like if he tells me something, I'm just like, "Okay." He's not like, "You don't have any questions to ask?" Like cuz I've started doing that to him.
maybe that's just one of our personality quirks that's a little annoying because we think we know it all. Because I think
I don't
that's
think I know it all.
you don't think you know it all.
Do you think you know it all? You think you
I
know
don't
it
think
all.
I know it all, but I think people think I know it all. But I don't really know it all. I'm actually a very, for the most part, somewhat humble person. Maybe.
Sure.
Okay.
You are.
I just like talk. I like to talk.
You do. You do.
I like to network. I love going to networking and, meeting new people. I really like that. So,
Yeah. Well, any other final thoughts on the evolution of us?
no, I think that, for mother daughters out there, or so if you're a mom of young kids or you're an older mom, just I think that we go through changes
Yeah.
like at every stage of our life.
Yeah.
And to keep that good relationship with your daughter is to change with her or acknowledge her changes, respect her changes. But daughters, I do think that you should listen to your moms. You should respect. You may have different opinions about things,
Mhm.
and it's okay. You can talk about it. And then there's always compromise. And I think, that's probably one of the things that we've learned about being in business together
Right.
is, and I'm not saying compromise our four core values of,
No.
family and safety and all of that, but, it's like, okay, I like to have things written down. So, and that's not something that you're used to, like, oh, okay. And I said, okay, we have a business plan, and
Right.
it's really our map of how
Yeah.
we're going to run Money Making Mamas. So I think not that was a compromise, but something that we introduced
Mhm.
to say, okay, well, let's be on the same page because it literally is on a page.
Well, I think our compromise was recognizing that I really truly believe that our biggest shift that's made us as successful as we are today has been to compromise on each other's time
Yes.
and like recognize that we don't have the same days
Yes. And the skill sets.
and the same skill sets like and all that,
Yeah.
which yeah, I think that that's been a big
Okay.
shift. But I
Mm.
think it's been really good
It's
working
been good.
together.
And you know what? So, what should people do now if they want to know more about Money Making Mamas?
Follow us on Instagram, subscribe.
Download
You
this. Yeah, download, share our podcast.
Yeah, and if you have any topics that you want to hear about or talk about or have questions, if it's follow-up questions on real estate investing or if it's follow-up questions on entrepreneurial business, I will say one of the things that Nancy does have a lot of background information is consulting. Ignite the Wealth was supposed to be consulting as well, business consultants. I have the management experience, even though I know I said that I did I did manage for a while as well. So I do have some there and some social media stuff. So, anyways, if there's anything that you want to hear more about, talk more about, please let us know. But thank you so much for joining in,
Thank
and
you. Thank
we'll talk
you.
next time.
All right. Thanks, Kelsey. Love you.
Love you. Bye.